everybody. We are the Red Group. We consist. My name is Joshua, and
Arthur, Tracy,
Allie,
Chris, Josh,
Dylan.
and today we're presenting on materials that we worked on over the course of this quarter that we did. So the materials we worked on in this quarter was aggregate materials, metals, concretes, wood, masonry, asphalt, and plastic. All these different materials are all used in daily civil engineering activities, construction activities, and other things of that nature. So the first material, aggregate. Some positive characteristics of aggregate is small in shape and has a smooth texture. As we all know, aggregate is capable of nice absorption, and is also used for the absorption and taking in liquids to make different materials. It has high strength and elasticity, and it has good abrasion resistance. By having good abrasion resistance, we can use it for different materials and maybe in hazardous type materials and protecting against acid rain or different type of things that could affect it. Some negative characteristics of aggregates is soft and weak particles, which could be used for in cement mix. It could form lumps or clay-like formations from inefficient mix. Like let's say you mess it up in the concrete mix, you can make lumps of clay. And organic impurities could negatively affect the hardening and cause deterioration, which can make different materials bad and not of good use.
Okay, so another major material as far as civil and construction goes is concrete. And concrete is literally the foundation of modern civilization. You see it everywhere. You see it in our buildings, roads, bridges, pipes, you name it, most likely it has concrete. And concrete's been around for a while. It dates back as far as the ancient Egyptians, which their time goes back as far as 3000 BC, so that's about 5,000 year time. And the Romans, the ancient Romans, they've used it. They mixed lime masonry with volcanic ash, and they developed fairly strong concrete, which they've used in their structures, which we can still see today, like the Colosseum, among others. And in its current iteration, concrete has been developed in England back in the early 1800s, and it gets its name, Portland cement, from the Portland, England, where they had stone quarries. When concrete hardens, it resembles that stone. And then recently, we started seeing use of concrete in the late 1900s here in the U.S. Now, concrete, it has a lot of positive traits. For one, it's good, it's strong under compression, it's durable, it lasts a long time, and it's also economical. It's easy to work with. You can fabricate it on site. It's cheap. The materials are basically available everywhere. It's made of limestone, clay, sand, and then combine that with water and of course a fine aggregate. And it's also fire and weather resistant. Hence why you have bridges made of concrete or roads made of concrete where they can withstand this abuse. Or this isn't the greatest example, but say a house burns down, everything else is gone, but the concrete's still there. And also, what's good about concrete is the ease with which its properties can be modified. You can make concrete for its strength, for how long it's going to last, how resistant to abrasion it is, among a number of others. However, concrete does have some negative traits, including low tensile strength. It doesn't handle very well when it's bent when it deals with flexural stress for a very long time, and it's also a brittle material. And also, the ease with which it can be modified can also be a disadvantage. Say, if someone's not being careful as far as controlling what goes into it, it won't have the proper strength or whatever you need it to do as far as where you're applying it. And it has to do with volume instability, and it's also got a low strength to weight ratio. But nevertheless, despite these issues, concrete has so many positive traits, and that's why it still remains a vital material in use today.
Another material we studied in this class is metal, and as far as construction materials go, we're usually talking about structural steel. Some of the positive characteristics of structural steel is that it has a high strength in tension as well as compression, and so like Dylan was saying, concrete is very weak under tension. Oftentimes they'll reinforce that concrete with some steel rebar. Steel has a pretty good lifespan, lasts a long time. See a lot of big projects done with steel for structural support. Aside from steel, metal in general is pretty malleable. So smaller projects, you might see like tin roofs and pipe work. They've got a lot of iron pipes and everything. Pretty good strength to weight ratio. Tends to be kind of heavy, but overall it's pretty solid. Aluminum is a really good conductor. Wires are pretty much always metal, except for like fiber optic wires. Those might be glass. Some negative characteristics. While it does have a good lifespan, it is subject to corrosion, and there's treatments for that. But that is a negative characteristic, and it's also more expensive than some of these other materials we'll be discussing to manufacture and process. So.
Another material that we studied in this class is masonry. Masonry is an economically efficient material. It's durable, strong, and requires low maintenance. Some of the negative characteristics are that for it to be strong and durable, you have to assemble it a certain way. It also requires it's heavy, so it requires a strong foundation. And it also has low oscillation tolerance.
Shifting to plastic. Everyone knows that plastic's everywhere. You can look at these blinds, they got plastic in it. These chairs, they got plastic in it. Alright, so look, they have a lot of pros and cons. Alright, so one of the pros is highly durable. It's like nice and strong, do all this stuff. It's easy to manipulate, so you can like do whatever project that you need to do, and like you can form it to any mold or form that you need to be. It has a high strength to weight ratio. It means it's really strong with a lot of lightweight. It's recyclable too, so that's good for the environment. So its negative characteristics, it can't tolerate high temperatures, but at these high temperatures, it'll release harmful gases into the environment that can hurt the environment. So for disposable stuff, it takes like 1,000 years for it to, what's it called? To degrade, yeah. And then affects the environment in a negative way. And yeah, Chris.
So the next material we looked over in class was wood. Wood has pretty much been one of the primary building materials for humans since humans were building things. It's very popular and it's been used for a very long time. Some of the positive characteristics is it's relatively lightweight and easier to cut and shape than metals. Like on the construction site, you can just take a saw and cut it to whatever dimensions you need, as opposed to it's much more time consuming to form metals. It's more energy efficient due to the nature of the material and higher insulation ratings. It does better at maintaining heat, like it's inside of a home. It's got very nice acoustic properties and natural beauty. One of the biggest positives of wood is just its kind kind of intangible elements. You know, it smells nice, it's very pretty. There's a reason why most musical instruments are made out of wood. And it's a much cheaper option for projects with limited budgets. Some of the negative characteristics is it's got a much higher vulnerability to water damage, fire, decay, and pests such as termites. You have to get regular maintenance done on your wood home to keep pests and stuff out of it like that. Natural disasters are going to be going to affect your home much more if it's made out of wood. And it's less environmentally sustainable when compared to recycled steel or composite lumber. You can't grow a tree as fast as you can cut it and use it to build something. And so that's something that people have to take into consideration when using wood as a building material. And also requires periodic remedial treatment due to potential decay formations, so such as like your frames around your windows and your doors can get decay in them over time, and weather, rot, and things like that, and it requires periodic maintenance. But overall, I think it's hard to deny that wood is probably the most popular building material that we use.
Last is asphalt. Some positive traits of asphalt is it's easy to recycle, but also when you're recycling, it also produces greenhouse gases for the negative characteristics. It's less noisy than other construction materials like concrete. Its ability to have the air inside of the mix whenever the asphalt concrete is down makes it quieter, so it can expand due to the compression from the cars. It's cheaper in some regions than other regions. Take the Northeast, for example. The temperature change, it doesn't crack as easily compared to concrete under crazy temperature change. It's easy to maintain, and some more negative characteristics. It shifts, so sometimes if the load is too great, the asphalt will move and causing rutting of the asphalt. And like I said earlier, it produces, while it's easy to recycle, it produces greenhouse gases. With that, are there any questions?